It's interesting, you look in some of the documents at other levels, like the Oregon State Constitution, and the very first words in your Constitution, Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 1, this is the beginning, natural rights inherent in people. That's what it's titled. And this is almost the entire Section 1. We declare that all power is inherent in the people, and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness. And they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper. There's no question about it. We are the sovereign people. This is your state constitution's first paragraph. I'll read it again. Article 1, Bill of Rights, Section 1, natural rights inherent in people. We declare that all power is inherent in the people and all free governments are founded on their authority and instituted for their peace, safety, and happiness, and they have at all times a right to alter, reform, or abolish the government in such manner as they may think proper. That's your state constitution's opening paragraph. And this state and many other states also give local communities another whole level of extraordinary authority. Home rule at the county and municipal level. That in this state and many other states, electors, that's you, may adopt, amend, revise, or repeal your county's charter. What is your charter? It's the constitution of your county. It is the coordinating, founding, defining document of Multnomah County. And there's a process where we, the people, can fundamentally alter or repeal or add all sorts of stuff that we want into our county charters. And that's true in all 3 Western states and most other states. And all it needs to start the process is you need to get 4%. It's really kind of bizarre, but it makes sense in a way. The thing says you start with a petition if you want to amend your charter. So imagine, this may sound really obscure. It's like, what the heck is a county charter? Well, imagine that you are tired of regulating corporate harms one at a time through the regulatory process, which a lot of environmental activists have a lot of experience trying to regulate harm, which means, you know, frequently it means figuring out how to get government to simply enforce rules that minimize harm rather than make it illegal. So you want to get out of that, and you want to start defining what it is you want in this society, in Portland, in Multnomah, in the state of Oregon. And we're not used to thinking like that anymore. We haven't for a century. But imagine that we're together and we're creating a charter amendment for Multnomah County, and the question is, what do we need? What do we actually need for a truly sustainable Multnomah or Portland? Given that, according to Mr. Hansen, I forget his first name, Richard, I think, Hansen of NASA, who's one of the world's leading climate scientists, he says, and Lester Brown says from World Watch, and other experts say that we have something like 10 years to cut our greenhouse gas emissions by 80% across the planet, if we're going to survive in any kind of world that we can recognize. 80% cut in greenhouse gas emissions in 10 years, imagine. So by 2020, we have to have completely transformed our communities. And the reason I'm talking about our sovereignty is that we, the people, are the highest level of authority in this country. The laws are all with us constitutionally. We get into trouble in terms of how much power we have when you add all these layers of what I call judge-made law. But anyway, to start a chartering process, to re-charter, to redefine the future of Multnomah, to make a long story short, you need about 10,000 signatures to create a commission of your peers to start this process to re-charter Multnomah's county's charter. Now, the problem is that we've been colonized for a very long time. Our minds are really colonized. And so we're in this kind of tippy boat I think, in our heads, thinking, you know, the enemy. I'm not saying that people tend to think of the enemy as an explicit enemy, but I notice even among my radical and liberal and green friends that there's a lot of mocking of the other, meaning the Tea Partiers or rural conservatives or whatever. And there's really, it's very interesting, the divide and conquer strategy that has been used between people of different classes, different genders, different ethnicities, I think is now very apparent and very dangerous for those of us who think of ourselves as enlightened in some kind of radical or green or pro-sustainability way. That I've been saying for years that in my work in Humboldt County for years, and in Clayoquot Sound up in BC where I lived for a number of years, trying to figure out how to end the war between environmentalists who were trying to stop the clear cutting and workers who were simply trying to make a living when there was no other work out there, that if environmentalists would make a real commitment, an authentic commitment, and put time and energy into unlearning their classism, really looking at their class privilege, and if loggers and mill workers would put an equal amount of time and energy into becoming ecologically literate, that we would have an enormous amount to say to each other. And we'd have an enormous amount of quality listening if we could also be listening to each other, which again is somewhat hard in this divide and conquer strategy that we're all in, where the left and the Greens make fun of the Tea Party and the Tea Party, you know, attacks the other side. And it's just, the reality is that if there is a them, it's minority rule. It's a very small group of very powerful people who hide behind the corporate veil, and they have all of these extra privileges as this tiny minority, and they hide. So one of the ways that we have been colonized is what a colleague of mine calls cops in the head, that we have these cops in our heads. And so an example of that is, I can't vote for Nader, like 8 years ago, I can't vote for Nader because da-da-da-da. Or I can't vote for Cynthia McKinney because. That's a cop in the head. What else? That limits our capacity to think in terms of what actually, you know, an elected, a candidate who's actually speaking our values. And that's just in the electoral arena. Political reality. Can't do that, I might get into trouble. Gender conformity. One person doesn't make a difference. What? I don't have time, I have a job. It's their fault. Good, what else? I don't have enough money. I don't have enough time. Scarcity consciousness is really big in our culture, in our internal colonization. I'm getting too old for that? I don't have enough energy. I can't do that, I have to protect my family? I've always done it this way. New boss, same as the old boss. I tried it before and it didn't work. I'll do it after fill in the blank. When things get a lot worse, maybe people will finally wake up. Put on a happy face. Don't worry, be happy. If I do that, they won't like me. I saw them do it? I saw all of them do it and it didn't work. Don't rock the boat. Society's not ready for such a big change. It's raining today. No trespassing.